Well, happy Monday morning. Start to another week. It's about 6:30 in the morning. It's raining out here in Northern California. Awesome. I was thinking last night and this morning that if there's one thing that the last election, the last year, has taught me is that I'm not very bright. I believe that there was absolutely no possible way heading into the last election that this country, our electorate, would re elect a man who, 6 months before Election Day, had been convicted of 34 felonies for trying to improperly influence the 2016 election. Found guilty by a jury in a court of law, evidence, an overwhelming amount of evidence. Never in a million years did I believe that we would elect a man who a federal judge described his conduct in a different case as meeting the legal definition of rape, being consistent with rape. Again, two juries on that one. Still, a year later, he's still a convicted felon. Right now, he is still a convicted felon. I never in a million years thought that we would elect a man who, along with his two sons in their company, were found liable for a decade's worth of fraud. He still owes the state of New York over $600 million for fraud. He still owes that money today. I never thought we would elect a man whose own company at the end of 2022 was found guilty for 17 felonies related to fraud. I never in a million years thought that we would re-elect someone who had been indicted 91 times in 4 separate jurisdictions, including 32 felony indictments for violating the Espionage Act for stealing classified documents. And the majority of those 91 indictments having to do with inciting an insurrection at the Capitol on January 6, 2021, trying to overturn the 2020 election with violence. We all watched it live on television. We all watched it live. I mean, we reelected a guy who, during his first term, completely screwed farmers in the United States, had to give him $26 billion for a bailout, and the majority of those farmers voted for him again, even though he told them he was going to do exactly the same thing to them during his second term. I didn't see that coming. And Trump remained in office after January 6th for 2 more weeks. He didn't pardon any of the people who had participated in the insurrection at the Capitol, the people who pooped in their own hands and smeared it on the walls, because he's transactional and they didn't uphold their end of the bargain. They didn't get it done. They didn't keep him in office. I would guess that a majority of the people who were at the Capitol that day who didn't get arrested still voted for him. I never in a million years thought we would be in a position where we would reelect a guy who documented, proven, objectively established, had lied over 30,000 times during his first term, but he'll be different in a second term. I never in a million years thought that we as a country would do that. I really believed before the 2020 election that women in this country would vote for the rights of other women. I was like, okay, this time, even a majority of white women will place their own bodily autonomy and the rights of their mothers, their sisters, their daughters, place those rights above their whiteness. I missed that one too. I never in a million years thought that a majority of our electorate would actually believe that a small group of billionaires would go to Washington to fight for the bottom 90% of this country. How could anybody possibly believe anything so unimaginably dumb? I never in a million years believed that the Supreme Court would grant this guy immunity from criminal prosecution in a decision that was issued less than 2 months after he had just been convicted of 34 felonies and had something like 55 other felony indictments still pending when they issued that decision. Never in a million years did I believe that that would happen. I did not believe that a majority of the electorate would still continue to vote against their own interests for a convicted felon, an adjudicated rapist, a fraudster who still owed the state of New York $600 million for fraud, whose company had been convicted of 17 felonies, who had tried to overturn the last election, who is a liar and steals literally every single thing he gets his hands on, including their money, every chance he gets. Buy an NFT, buy a little piece of my suit, buy an autographed Bible, buy these shiny tennis shoes, buy a fake Les Paul that has a bald eagle painted on it. A billionaire grifting middle and low income Americans at every turn. And then that brings us to today. I never thought our electorate would vote to eradicate Medicaid, which apparently overnight House Republicans announced they're going to cut almost $900 billion from Medicaid over the next 10 years. Because billionaires aren't the problem. It's poor people. Huge numbers of whom voted for Donald Trump. Never in a million years did I think people would be dumb enough to be like, tariffs are amazing. Tariffs are going to make the United States wealthy. Tariffs are going to bring manufacturing back to the United States. Oh, I'm dropping tariffs on China by 95 percentage points. That's how amazing tariffs are. I'm doing away with 95 percentage points of the tariffs against China. I'm not very bright. I never in a million years believed that our electorate was this incredibly dumb and gullible. I was wrong.